right, y'all. Welcome to Kevin's MLB desktop. All right. I'm a little bit scattered, but that's normal. So, welcome everyone. I know there were at least a few people that were waiting to watch. If you're here, please feel free to comment. If you are brand new to Sorare, and if you play Sorare, we've got links for our free Patreon and a link to sign up to play Sorare if you haven't before. We are going to do a bunch of giveaways, but first, there is one from Heimer Sampson. Heimer, which is how you say that name. My goal for this season is to learn how to pronounce all the names, at least for MLB players, if not for people that I know on Discord. But Heimer, we're going to be talking about the changes to Sora this year. Heimer, not a huge fan, and so he's selling his cards. If you would like to buy some of his cards, he's thinking about doing a giveaway. I'm guessing if I talk about this now, he kind of has to do it. So, yeah, he's planning to give away Mason Miller's #1 limited from 2023, which means that's going to be a starting pitcher one, and it's probably not like a great one to play necessarily, but it is a pretty cool card to have. And Mason Miller, if he can stay healthy for another year or two, he might be a starter by then. So yeah, check out his gallery on Sorare. I will post a link for that as well if you want to check out the cards he's got for sale. Again, this isn't for sure, but like I feel like he has to do it now. So, and if he backs out, I will do something of equivalent value because we're giving a ton of stuff away. We're going to be doing giveaway for anyone that signs up for our Patreon. We've got a free tier where I'll be giving you guys bits and pieces at least. We'll probably do one game week where we'll share our rankings and recommendations for the game week, and let everyone see kind of the stuff that we're doing for our paid members. We're going to do a free limited lineup for anyone that signs up for the free tier, and we're going to do a rare lineup. It's mostly going to be the sleepers that I'm looking to focus on for this upcoming season. It's not a word. There we go. All right. Hopefully I can figure out how to make this a podcast and people will be able to listen to it. And this doesn't make for great radio, as Ace would have said, but here we are. All right. So yeah, if you're going to sign up and you want to do the giveaways, I would say do it by the end of our stream on Thursday, because I'm going to need some time to figure out how to do a giveaway. I'm not great at this, but if anything, we will be doing, like I said, a stream. The plan is Thursday, I think at 9 p.m. Eastern. So we've got the first 2 days of announcements that Sora's made for the changes and additions for this upcoming season, what the rewards are going to look like, all of that. 2 more days, I think, are expected for Wednesday and Thursday. So hopefully we'll know everything we need to know by Thursday night, and I can go over that. And then Friday morning at 11 Eastern, Hunter and I will be talking to John and Damien, the guys that we yell at the most at Sorare when we don't like the stuff that they're going to be doing. So we're going to talk to them 11 Eastern on Friday morning. I'm guessing it'll be at least an hour. We'll probably need more than that. I tonight need to be done by 9 Eastern. So I'm going to do my best to keep this concise, but I'm not great at that. So I've got about an hour and a half to talk about everything that's going on. So if there are new folks that are listening, I wanted to just do a quick overview of what Sorare MLB is, and then talk about the new stuff that's going forward. That's happening for this season, for season 4 of Sorare MLB. We got a bunch of information about the new kind of gameplay stuff, what the breakdown of the contest is going to look like, what the rewards are going to be. And today we got updates on bonuses and things like that you get for collections, ways to increase the prices that you get, some of which are kind of meh and some of which are actually pretty cool. I've done my best to go over this stuff the past 2 days. I think I've got a good grasp of it. If I get anything wrong, please in the comments let me know, and I can correct that stuff. But yeah, if assuming I have time, we're going to talk about what this is actually going to look like. I've got a spreadsheet of my all my results in limited rare and I think super rare from 2023. And so when I went to look for the file, it was named 2024 finishes or something like that, but I never actually got around to doing that. So it just had like the sheet that I copied over from 2023. That's all we have. For those of you guys that are new to this, Sorare FP was started by Alex Hooper in 2022. He was doing projections, content like this, and along with Captain No Sweat, who's one of the members, longtime members from our Patreon and Discord, who in his spare time does iOS apps. He made an app for us where we can submit lineups directly to Sorare. We can use our projections, and I believe we're going to be able to do, if you've got your own projections you want to use, it'll be a format. I'll get the spreadsheet to you guys, so it'll be easy to get it to us in the format that we need. And I think we'll be able to do those as well. So if you want to do custom ones on your own, or if you only like a specific set and you subscribe to it, you can bring those in and use them in the app. And the best part for now, for me for now, is that like Sorare doesn't let you sort by projected score, even in NBA, where they've done a much better job this year of showing at least their RotoWire projections. When you're going through and selecting your lineups, you can't sort by it still, so you need to scroll down. So when the best players in NBA, which has a cap mode, are the ones that don't cost a lot to play but have a huge projection, you got to scroll through all your cards. And in NBA, at least, I don't even have that many cards. In MLB, as we'll see, I have way too many cards. And while that's going to be good for some of the changes that come up, if you're trying to sort through that when you're setting your lineups like directly with Sorare, it just doesn't work. So hopefully they will add that for everyone. If not, folks that are using the Sorare FP app can you can sort it in the scouting tab, though, Taylor says. All right, I was just checking on my phone to make sure that like people could hear me and this was live. Again, I'm not great at this, but yeah. So apparently in the scouting tab you can do it. I'm not sure why that's not like the default. It's confusing to me, but like, user experience isn't necessarily Sorare's top skill, but yeah. So hopefully they'll bring that in for everyone. If not, in our app you'll be able to do that. We are going to be doing our best to work through the new stuff that's been added, and I'll get there in a second. But daily competitions are going to be new for MLB this year. Again, folks that are new, Sorare, the typical game weeks are Friday through Sunday and then Monday through Thursday, so 2 game weeks per week. Every week you're able to submit a new lineup. So the cool thing for me is that if you play NFBC, it's the same, same lineup blocks as you're doing for your hitters. And so, it's not a lot more time that you need to do for one versus the other, because you're already looking into the matchups and who you want to play if you've got options like that. I know last year for NFBC, there were some weeks where I had no options except for the guys that were not injured or who were in the majors or actually playing. So there wasn't a lot of choice. But on those few lucky DC lineups where I actually had enough hitter choices, I had already looked through projections and all of that. So again, Taylor's here. Thanks for joining us. TJ Doc is here. Kick is here. Of course, he's driving, I think. So stop commenting, please. You should be driving. And so there's some disagreement about whether or not you can sort by projected score. I have no idea, but I will say I haven't found it. And again, I don't focus on NBA. I play more than I play soccer, which I have like at least some old like MLS cards. Kick is done driving, so I'm glad. Thank you for not crashing your car while listening to our imaginary baseball card show. But I always forget to play soccer because I just don't care that much, and it's a lot more work. NBA, I love, and I at least follow the NBA, like regardless of Sorare. But even then, I miss locks all the time. And so they've had a daily game as well where you can do a new lineup every day. The prizes aren't as great. NBA, they haven't been very good at all, I would say, except for like some special ones that they've done. But for MLB, there's at least going to be some decent prizes, which will make it worthwhile. So there's, I know they're talking a lot about wanting to introduce more ways to kind of have strategy about how and where you use your cards. And I know some people like Robbie are like, I just want to play fantasy baseball. And I really liked the game as it was. I wish there wasn't all this new stuff. And again, like TJ Doc said, I haven't found that option and I haven't either. And so, at least every, couple weeks I'm doing a game week, and whenever I remember, I'm doing daily ones, and I haven't figured that out yet either. So, yeah. DJF is here. Thanks for joining us. All right. I'm going to need you guys in the comments to please keep me on task. If I start wandering, whenever I go on a tangent, please let me know. I've got until 9 Eastern. I need to pick up my 7-year-old from gymnastics tonight. So I probably need to leave by like 8:45. So if it's getting close to that, please also let me know. And James says we had a focus group with Damien in the off season. Somehow brains fried with everything that's been released so far. Yeah. So some folks got to kind of preview these changes. In the past, I think month or so, like I think kind of January, maybe February. I know some folks were talking to Damien. He was kind of running by, these are the things that we're thinking about. There was, as expected, not the best reaction to that. To at least some of them. Another group was brought in, and so I was part of one of those second groups, and so we got to see kind of the slideshow of what they were intending to do. Is broad strokes for the most part. It wasn't details by any means, but like, we're thinking about doing ceiling and vaulting. Here's how we think it would work. We're looking at doing a breakdown of the contests like this, but we want to make sure, and this is the big deal for everyone, we want to make sure that if you have prior season cards, you can use them in the same contest that everyone buying cards for this new season can use. So yeah, sorry for the confusion, guys. Yeah, for NBA, I just haven't figured out how to sort by projection. But again, I'm an idiot. So I turned 46 today. I'm an old man. We had a birthday party. One of my coworkers has the same birthday, and one of the students in our classroom, his birthday was on Sunday. And so we did a little group party today for that. So if I, thank you, Taylor, if I can find the video of it, we did a happy birthday. I have a ridiculous thing on my head. Thank you, James. Thanks, Taylor, for the happy birthday wishes. So like I said, I turned 46. And so people asked how old I was. I was like, I don't know. I know I was 45 already and I'm not 50 yet. And so it's going to be a while until I actually know how old I am. I've got, it sounds like 4 years until I'm 50 and I'll actually remember. And there's my first tangent. But I think the big deal that people had issues with, or at least had questions about, were how are we going to be able to use our old cards? And again, for folks that are new to Sorare, you buy cards. They're digital baseball cards. I call them imaginary baseball cards because they're not real and you can't hold them. But once you buy them, you can enter contests for free. So you don't pay entry fees. So it's a little bit like daily fantasy, but because you're buying them and you get to keep them long term, you can trade them, sell them. It's got the aspects of dynasty as well. But obviously, it's unless they're going to just be a terrible Ponzi scheme. Like if you buy cards for season one, you never have to buy cards again. It doesn't work for them to give out prizes that make it worthwhile to keep playing. So their goal, I think, and what those changes that they showed us early on and what they've been releasing now, I think the goal of them is to encourage us to buy at least some cards every year. And so last year was the first year that there were contests that required some current season cards. And so for those, depending on what rarity you were playing, you needed to have at least for the 7-person lineup, you need to have at least one, or for the higher rarities, the cards that are more expensive, just a few in-season cards. And so there were contests where you could use any cards, and there were contests that strictly awarded cash. And so they're kind of the way they were breaking it down was, prior season cards can win new season cards, and new season cards you can play in contests that require them to win cash. And so as long as the cash prizes are worthwhile, the cards have value. And so winning a card isn't meaningless, and you can sell them, you can play them, whatever you want to do. So that was the breakdown last year. It sounds like they thought that was a little too confusing, having two separate sets of contests. And so they wanted to move towards everyone kind of playing in the same contests. If you have in-season cards, you don't have to worry about anything. You just play those cards. If you have prior season cards, you can't use them every week, but you can, there's a cooldown period, or energy, they're calling it, but like experience or whatever that you can earn to be able to use those cards in those contests that require in-season cards. So for 1 week, you can power up a card essentially to play it in those contests. And so let's see how we're doing on time. 5:25 for me. I'm Mountain Time, so 7:25 Eastern. I'm not going to get into how Sorare works because it'll probably take me a half hour to do that. But it's a fantasy game. You play 7 cards: starting pitcher, relief pitcher, corner, middle, and outfield. You get 1 hitter flex spot and 1 any flex spot where you can play a pitcher or a hitter. Points are based on how they perform. It's fairly standard kind of points league scoring. Add up the scores at the end of the game week. So over the course of either a 3 or 4 day game week. So typically it lines up with, team's actual series. And so add up the points, and you get prizes based on where you finish. And so previously, again, it was just cash rewards in one set of contests and card rewards in the other set of contests. They've introduced a whole new slew of things, and that's what we're here to talk about. I'm going to do my best to quickly go through them and hopefully have time afterwards to try and talk about what it actually means. I was actually surprised by how many people were like, I kind of like these changes, or at least I understand what they're doing. It makes sense. It's not the worst, or it's better than I expected. Every time there's changes that are announced, typically the response is, oh my God, Sorare ruined everything. Why did they nerf our old cards or whatever? That was the response last year. When they introduced, like I said, competitions that required you to have some in-season cards. It was like, oh, they nerfed our old cards, but they really didn't. You could play them in those contests, and you could play them in contests that would win you cards at least. And those were going to have value as long as there were decent cash prizes for the in-season contests. And so it went pretty well. They introduced some new things like chases, which were multi-week contests. Everyone really liked them. However, they're not doing them again this year, which some people have not been a fan of, which I agree, but it sounds like they kind of moved to adding the daily ones and trying to have meaningful rewards in those, so that rather than having those rewards in the multi-week chases, is what they call them. So so that's one of the changes that I wouldn't have made, but I guess it's important to them that they do daily. I think they want to be able to have, for new users, want people to be able to buy their cards on a Tuesday and play them immediately, like that day, as opposed to having to wait until Friday. I don't think that's that big of a deal. But it's what they're doing. It's fine. And maybe they'll get rid of it if it doesn't work. Again, folks that are new to Sorare, they started as a soccer game. They've since added NBA and MLB. Soccer, obviously, globally is kind of a big deal, and so they've slowly grown the leagues that they include in their contests. Adding one of the biggest ones was Premier League, but they've had Bundesliga, and I think most of the La Liga teams at start, they just kind of started with a few teams and kind of built from there. But MLS is in there, and all of that. And so they started there, kind of part of the big NFT and crypto booms, around 2020. People made a ton of money, just like they did for a lot of other kind of crypto and Web3 things. As time went on, those things kind of lost value. People are not as into that stuff. And so a lot of the folks on the soccer side hate everything that Sorare does, because it's not ever going to be something where if you get in like today, in a year, you might like 10x or 15x whatever you've paid to play. It's just a game now. It's now something where if you do pretty good at it, it's probably not going to cost you anything to play season after season. So for me, like last season, I was just going over this. I'm working on taxes, and so going over how much money went in, and it was, I don't know, maybe like $1,000 over the course of a year, but over the course of 2024. But I also won, a contest that paid out $1,500, a bunch of smaller ones, and winning cards and selling that and all of that and turning it over. I did take some money out last year, but I rarely do. I mostly just put it back in. And like I said at the start, and if you missed the start, we're going to be doing some giveaways. As I always say, I have way too many cards. And so Sorare FP is going to be giving away my cards. So I'm going to be doing full lineups for Classic. For people that sign up for the paid Patreon membership, we're going to do a rare lineup as well. And so we're going to spread the wealth and hopefully get people guys that they can use this upcoming season. Ideally, it'll be new folks. If you're someone that already has a playable gallery and you do win one of these, please, pass it on to someone else, or if you can. But the more people that we get playing, the better. But yeah, so that's the plan. What am I missing? All right, I think it's time to get started. So let's share that window. I'm so big. Hey, I look tired, don't I? Yeah. Again, for those that are new here, I used to just play Sorare. I took over for Alex when he couldn't do this anymore. And so now I, and to some degree, Bob Orangefly, we're the faces of Sorare FP, which has been pretty fun. It means I have to do stuff I'm not used to doing, like doing a stream and a podcast and all of that, and figuring out how to share my screen when it's not in like Microsoft Teams. So here we go. All right, gameplay reveal. So hopefully this is first change, and this isn't a big one, is XP updates. It used to be 20 levels. This isn't that, is it? It used to be how you could earn XP, and you get score bonuses for the XP. It used to be ones that were in your lineups, and cards that you played in training lineups would get experience some points every week, people were getting like a small amount as well. I don't know. I know that was like an off-season thing for a while. I think they stopped that, but I'm not sure. But it used to be that you would play cards in lineups specifically to get them additional XP if they weren't in a competition lineup. They're doing away with that, and so you can win some XP in some contests, and cards that play in an actual, like in a normal contest, there's not going to be special training ones, but in a normal contest, you'll get XP based on the score for the entire team, kind of split amongst the players. But then you can also win XP as part of the rewards that you get every week. And then you can apply that to whichever player you want. Mookie is here. Hey, Mookie. So new change. Also, they went from 20 levels to 10. So instead of half levels going up to 10%, it's now just one at a time. This isn't, I don't think this is that meaningful for all of us. It's a different way of doing the XP. DJ Locals here as well. Welcome. Thanks for joining us. You just missed me rambling for the most part. I'm just starting to talk about stuff now. So no one's surprised, right? Right. All right. Training teams are gone. Energy is the new thing. This is the controversial change. So instead of last season where, for instance, in Super Rare, you would, for most of the season you had to have at least 3 in-season cards in your 7-person lineup. You could use 4 cards from whatever season you wanted. In limited, it started out, I think, with 5 in-season cards and 2 whatever season you wanted, and then it moved to 6 and 1. Instead of that, now it's just there's only one set of contests instead of separate ones for in-season cards and for any cards. The rewards have been combined, and we added multi-entry instead of the multiple contests we had last year, where we had Pro and All-Star and AL and NL specific ones. And so now we're all playing in the same contest except for one challenger contest, they're calling it. It's a name I think that they just took from soccer, but that one is specifically meant for your prior season cards to be able to gain energy, which is what this is. And so this is just points that you build up to be able to use your prior season cards for one game week as if it's an in-season card. You can do an entire lineup of classic cards or prior season cards if you want. I'm going to call them classic from here on out. That's what we call them, typically in-season and classic. So you can use classic cards as if they were an in-season card. If you apply energy, I actually missed this part. So we're going to start off with 250 for limited and rare, 500 for super rare and unique. It will cost 25 points or 25 units of energy to be able to do that 1 week use of a card. And so you get 10 uses right off the bat, and then you can win them in the challenger contest. You can do multi-entry with that, depending on which level it is, and we'll get into that as well. And that's the example that I want to go through with my gallery, is looking at, so based on my 2023 results in Pro and All-Star, what would it have looked like? How would I have done? How much energy would I have earned, and what would that have meant for lineups and using classic cards going forward? Again, my gallery is stupid large. I have a problem. It's fine. I just buy too many cards. When I see Joe Ryan or Bailey Ober for $2 for a limited card, or under $10 for a rare one, I'm just like, well, that's going to be worth more than that at some point, right? Probably. I don't know. With the changes, who knows? It looks like it should do a decent job of maintaining their value. We'll see how that actually plays out. And I will say again, I know people respond to changes, especially folks that have come from the soccer side where they haven't made the best decisions necessarily, and it's been going on longer and they've made more decisions. And early on, I think they were making a lot. They were kind of figuring out as they went. And there's going to be changes every year going forward. It's going to happen. We just need to accept that. Ideally, they're going to make changes that don't ruin the game. The changes this year, I don't think ruin the game for some people. They make it more confusing, I think, less fun. But as I said when I talked to Bob last time, when we first started talking about this stuff, the way that Bob decided to play last year was just buying in-season cards, buying collections of the teams he was focusing on, so they'd have the biggest collection bonus, so the most XP, buying them early on, so knowing he was going to overpay because prices are always at least twice as high for the first couple of weeks when people are excited. The cards are brand new. The supply, there's just not a supply there in the same way that there will be in July after a lot of people have had time to buy cards. They've auctioned off a ton more. People have won cards in competitions. And so prices are for sure going to be at least twice as high as they will be probably by mid-April. And so he was just like, I'm going to do this. So I'm going to have the most experience from playing them. I'm going to have the biggest bonuses for having a full collection. And so he, did a Dodger stack and, I think a Yankee stack, and so the ones with the big stars, playing them, and he did fine last year. I think he came out ahead with his winnings using that strategy. He does not like these changes, I know, but also I think the strategy that he used last year would have worked. Is going to work great this year. We'll see how that actually plays out again. How much using in-season cards versus using energized classic cards is going to work. But I think that doing it that way is going to work, and I'm going to do my best to play with primarily a classic gallery. Again, I've got a ton of cards. We'll see what happens. Last year, in part, I didn't put very much money in last year. A significant amount of money, but I was also playing super rare again, where those cards are more expensive. In terms of the limited and the rare ones, I can't imagine much of that money was put towards that. But I did, sell. I think it was close to $10,000 worth of cards in the couple months leading up to last season, and then use that to buy in-season cards. I haven't done that as much this year. I just haven't had time. And I certainly don't have as much money. Again, those of you that are new, I plan to have I guess I wasn't planning to work anyway. I was planning to take a year off of work, be a stay-at-home dad. And then I ended up accidentally working at my son's school with a special ed class, which I know it's going to be shocking for everyone. It does not pay well. And so it's mostly because I enjoy doing it, and they really, really needed someone. The last person they hired lasted one day, and these kids aren't bad. Like, they're good kids. A lot of autism in the class and things like that. But like, I many, many years ago had worked in a hospital with children and adolescents. And so I was working with those kids when they couldn't be at home or at school anymore. And so when they're still doing good at school, like, the kids are awesome for me. But if you're new to it, it makes sense that, you could be surprised by what you're getting yourself into. And so, so they really needed help. And I had asked to volunteer initially, and they're like, we just need to hire someone. And so here we are. I haven't had as much time to do things like, every night take an hour after, bedtime to look through my cards and list some, and, all of that. And so I certainly don't have the same, I don't have the time to play as much anymore, in part because I'm doing this stuff, and in part because I'm a little more busy than I was when I was working a job where I could kind of work as much or as little as I wanted. So here we are. So I've got a bunch of cards. I don't have much money in my account right now. I think about like $200. And so my plan is to mostly play with my classic cards. I will, in one of them, at least, I think, whether it's limited rare or super rare, I'm going to try to just do classic and see how you can do just doing that if you want to, if that's the route you choose to go. And in one of them, at least one level, I'll plan to do what I did last year, which was, use proceeds from old cards that I have to buy some in-season ones, and play using a mix of the classic cards and the in-season ones. And so, if it doesn't work for my gallery, it's not going to work for anyone, because I've got more than enough cards that I can sell. So as long as there's some demand for classic cards, I'll be able to be fine. If there's not, we'll see it. And And for sure they're going to hear about it. Again, those of you that missed the very beginning, tonight's Tuesday night. We've got 2 of the 4, I think, expected updates from them on the new stuff and the changes for the coming season. Thursday night, hopefully we'll have everything that they're going to release. And so, no, I'm not selling my whole collection, Kika. Goodness gracious. I I don't think I could. I mean, unless someone wants to buy my entire gallery, and I can start from scratch, which I think would be fun to do, but it's unwieldy. It's probably only of interest to me. I've got collections that are fun for me. I've got a, 2022 Diamondbacks one and all of that. And so, um, collections, for those that don't know Kika, he's been playing this, I think, the whole time as well. And, he's got, from what I recall, a pretty formidable super rare lineup. Kika, I don't think Kika shared. I don't know if you just said you didn't have a spreadsheet, or were you the one that did you share just kind of like the no, it was Robbie that shared it. Sorry guys. But yeah, so I think Kika will be a good example of how well you can do in super rare, using a very expensive and powerful gallery of classic cards. I'll be doing the same. I'm FP data only, and so I'm not going to get into API stuff, and what we're hoping to do. Essentially, Sorare data, which has done, price history and, a bunch of information that Sorare doesn't provide itself. They stopped doing it for MLB. MLB is by far the smallest of the games that Sorare does. And so I don't think it made sense for them to keep doing it. But we're going to try to be able to provide that stuff, whether it's through our app or through a web app or something, to be able to fill that gap. But again, that's one of those things that I either need to figure out or find someone that'll work with us. I know Nate's Patreon, Sorare Edge, where he does projections for NBA, as well as MLB. I know someone in there has been doing some work with API stuff, so I might see if they want to do that for us as well, or if we can share some of that stuff with Nate and back and forth and whatnot. But yeah, so we're hoping to be able to look at things like, it'll just be fun to have like a leaderboard to see who's done the best over the course of an entire season of competitions, but also, who, like, what players, like how frequently are players being used. So ideally we can't get from the API, lineups that have been submitted before the lock, but we can look at past weeks and see, when the Diamondbacks were at Coors, how often were Carroll and Marte and Christian Walker and whoever, how often they used in lineups, and how often were they used in lineups that were on the podium or won or were in the top 10%, whatever. Excuse me. And so that's stuff that I'd like to see, as well as, and I think a big thing for me is how often is the top 10 finishers, how often do they have the studs that are super expensive, the Otanis and the Judges, which some folks frequently was like, you need to have those guys to be able to compete. But until I won some, I didn't have any Otanis or Judges, I don't think, until the season where I won some. But I've done fine without them. And again, I always say this, but like, that's the coolest part about this game, is that if you, like, Bob was playing Otani and was playing Judge and did great. The thing with them is they're not going to be the best play every week. They're going to be a lot more frequently one of the top plays and put up one of the top scores. But every week there's going to be players that many weeks or even most weeks aren't going to be guys that you would play. But again, if they're at Coors or they're facing bad pitching, or if it's a righty mashes lefties and they're facing 3 lefties for one game week, something like that, like they're going to put up as many or more points as the guys that cost like 10 or 20 or 30 times more than them. Ryan Mountcastle is the example that I've been using. He can buy his limited cards for I think $2 right now, and he's for sure been in winning lineups. But it needs to be the right one. And so Like Mookie says, the dream of money balling it drew him in, and that's, again, I have a stupid size gallery, but I mean that's the way that I started playing, and just won more and more cards and all that, and so that's what's fun for me is figuring out the guys, and when you play those guys, they're often going to be a little bit of a differential. When it's someone at Coors, that's a huge thing. Everyone's going to be doing that, but matchups that are great. That are players that maybe wouldn't be even in someone's gallery most times. You're gonna have a leg up on most of the people because they're not playing those cards. I don't know, because Sorare doesn't easily provide that data. Hopefully, we're going to be able to do that. When do you think you'll have this new data active? Kika says, man, I don't know. Again, so I have spring break next week, and so I'm going to do as much as I can. Again, I need to figure out if I can do this stuff on my own. I've through worked with developers before, and can, like, I know enough, and maybe even just with like the AI stuff can kind of figure out how to make changes or additions, or again, in the case of if we're doing a web app, if we need to convert the iOS stuff so that we can use it as a web app, being able to do that, so I can kind of understand what's going on, understand the logic of it, and and all the structure and whatnot. But I've never had to do it myself. It's just talking with a team of developers, and they're implementing it. Again, we'll be figuring that out. Miles, welcome. Just joined, talking about Sorare data, or is this a different website? So I'm talking about Sorare FP. We do an app, we do projections, we have a Discord. Again, if you haven't yet, please sign up for our Patreon. We're going to be giving away a full limited lineup to anyone that signs up between now and Thursday night. For folks that sign up for the paid tier, which is $10 a month for Discord app, and all of our projections, all of that. $10 a month for that. Sign up for that. We're going to be giving away a rare lineup as well. It's not going to be Ohtani, but it is going to be players, again, that I think you can play with and win. I'm going to do my best to put together some kind of mini stacks of guys that I like. So if you're new, get you started. If you don't have a huge gallery, it'll be a nice addition to it. If you have a huge gallery, I would recommend that you just, if you win, give it to someone else. Let me know and I can rerun it. I think the plan is going to be to have John run a wheel of names on Friday when we do our stream. Then we're going to have John and Damien on Friday at 11 Eastern. Hunter will be there as well. But yeah, so this is Sorare FP. Sorare data, which has been around forever and is phenomenal. It's if you're buying and selling cards, it was the only way to get a good view of how much a card has historically sold for. It was necessary. MLB has not been a big focus for them for at all. I think throughout. So for a long time, just with their free tier, you could get pretty much everything you needed for MLB. They've since changed that. So like, they have price alerts where when a card drops below a certain price, it gives you a notification. So that was how I bought and sold cards in the off season, especially. So I didn't have to check over and over and over again. It was just when I'd get a notification that, Carol was below $30 or something like that, I could go check and buy it. And so they've stopped doing MLB stuff, updates and whatnot. And so I think the price stuff is there. Again, I don't even do the paid tier, and I probably should, just to support them. But you can't do much. The price stuff is there. If you're in the free tier, I don't think you can get as much detail as you used to be able to. Like, you could see your individual sales and things like that. That's not there. And so we want to try and implement that. That's not going to be ready by opening day by any means. Part of it is figuring out, how much it's going to cost to host historical price data. And I was also talking about the tournament stuff, like competition stuff, like results from that. It's going to be a ton of data. And so I don't know how much it's going to cost to host that stuff. We'll figure it out. We may do a funds drive if we need it. Yeah. So we're hoping to be essentially the Sorare data of MLB to fill that gap. If someone else, for at least some parts of it, can do it, that's great as well. But I really like to have it. All right, I'm going to catch up on the comments real quick. Kika asked about the app. Any updates for it yet? Captain No Sweat, who in his spare time makes the app for us, is going to be working on it. Obviously, new changes with the API. In terms of the new contests and the new mechanics and all that. And so some of that is up already. And so he's going to check that out. I just checked with Damien, I think yesterday, and he said, the new stuff at least is starting to be up on GitHub so that he can check it out, and we'll see. It might not be until it goes live for the initial daily contest for the Tokyo series, which is starting, I think, a week from yesterday. Is that right? Is it already? It might be no, it's the following week, right? I'm not sure. I have no idea what's going on. But it's, well before the actual like opening day for MLB. And so we'll be able to test it out there and see. We've got a group of beta testers that have been around for a while that check out the initial changes. And so it might take until that everything actually goes live for us to kind of test it out and see if it works. But we should be able to have something working for us by opening day for everything. Again, there's these new energy changes and all that, and so I don't know exactly how hard it's going to be for that to be coded in there. All right, I'm going to try and make this bigger so that if you're watching, you can do that. But all right, checking on the comments. Let's see. When are we going to have new data? Multi-entry changes things. Miles is here. DJ Local started looking to see if he could use AI to convert it to Android. So yeah, so we only have iOS because it's just Captain No Sweat doing this in his spare time, and he just does iOS. And so I know some folks have just bought like an old iPad or iPhone, use it connected to Wi-Fi, and just use that for doing the Sorare FP app, which I think is awesome. It's obviously something that's needed for the community, and we've had direct lineup submission the whole time. Again, Captain No Sweat did an awesome job last summer when they changed a bunch of how things worked, trying to get it all consistent across soccer, NBA, and MLB. So it's a good thing in the long run, but it changed a ton of stuff. And so he had to make changes to accommodate that. And I don't think we missed any game weeks. There might've been 1 week where only the beta folks had it. But yeah, Captain No Sweat is a boss. If you're ever like, I love what you guys do, thank you so much. Even if you're not a paid person, if you just want to send Captain No Sweat a card, I believe that's just his name on Discord and on Sorare, feel free to. I'm sure he'd appreciate it. If I can, I'll try, and I know I'd started looking at like what collections he has and what cards he might need, and maybe putting together a list of like a wish list for him if anyone wants to say thank you to him. But like, again, he's great. If you sign up through Apple, through iOS, all that money's going to him. We're not really making money on this at all, but at least enough. We're paying for hosting and things like that. So yeah, that's where we're at. All right, I'm going to finish these comments. Guys, you guys are really supposed to be keeping me on task. That's usually Bob's job, but he's not here. All right. Tokyo series starts Tuesday, 6 a.m. Eastern. Cool. All right, let's keep going on the changes. So energy, it's new. Again, a lot of people are like, this sucks and it's terrible. Some people are like, I don't know, it looks fine. I'm going to walk through, if not tonight, either I might record something afterwards or on the stream on Thursday, do it to go through my past results from 2023. I've got a spreadsheet of every result. There may be some errors because I just entered it myself. I went along as I went along. And so we'll be able to see, so I tracked, total entries, my place. I know I just kept a running tally of how often I was on podium, how often I was top 10, top 10%, top 25%, I think was one of the other levels I had done. And so you can track that easily. And, with some of these new things that they're introducing with energy, with essence, which is essentially instead of to be able to spread out card rewards, instead of just having certain spots for finishes when a card essence is again kind of points that you use. When you have enough, you can build a card, you can craft a card with it, and so it's a little bit of a randomized thing, and especially now it's a lot more so. We'll talk about that in a second, but like but yeah, so you can get fractions of a card. In some cases, it's not a lot. In some cases, some people are super upset about the fact that if you play rare, you might win a little bit of super rare essence, and that's the worst thing ever, which that's one of those things that affects so few people. Like if you get first place, you get some that you might not be able to use, but you're also getting prizes and this is something I do want to go over. Like compared to last year, the prizes for winning some of the contests are significantly better, especially for super rare, which a lot of folks, rightly so, have felt like so rare didn't really pay attention to last season. If you're playing so rare, champion paid out money. It was, I think it was 1,500 for first place. But if you're playing the other competitions, pro or all-star, the cards that you won weren't great. Like the star tier used to be, I think, the top about 6% of players. So sometimes, and it was based on recent sales, super rare, there's not a ton of cards. There's only 10 of each player every year. And so there's not a lot of sales data to go with. And they're mostly using that data instead of tracking the limited and rare ones where there's either 1,000, a cap of 1,000. I don't think there's been even close to that at any point. I think it's usually closer to 250 or 300. And then the rare ones where there's at most 100. And again, I don't think they've hit those caps most years either. But instead of using those, they just be like, well, Andrew Abbott, who was brand new and someone overpaid for him, maybe because they've got a Reds collection, or just because he came up and he had a great start to start the season, but he's like, we know he's not like a top starting pitcher, but someone overpaid for him. He ends up in that star tier, and you might win that for winning a contest, and it's terrible. But actually, you couldn't even win them last season in super rare because I don't think any star cards were rewards for any solely super rare contests. I think you need to be playing unique to win a star super rare card. If I'm wrong on that, someone correct me, but I think the best you could do was a T1 for super rare pro. Is that right? I think so. And it was even worse for super rare all-star. And again, like I won a Xander Bogaerts before he got hurt, but like he still wasn't like that great of a card for winning a contest. That's terrible. It's terrible. No one should ever be disappointed if they finish on a podium in so rare. That is my I'll die with that one. Like just make sure that you're happy, and they've made a change this year that is going to, I think, help with that. So like I said, last year, 6%, the top 6% of cards based on value, based on recent sales. We're in the star tier this year. They've broken it out further. So instead of 5 total tiers, there's 6 now. So star, T1, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, tier 5. For those, the star tier now is the top 2% of players. So it's going to be hard for them, even if they don't do a better job of doing the tiers, which I think they could and should do. But they've heard that from me many, many times. They're going to continue hearing about it until they get it right. But it's going to be a lot harder to get that top 2% wrong. So if you're winning a star card, it's probably going to be Ohtani or Judge or Soto or whichever, the younger guys are going off this season, whether that's, if Corbin Carroll stays healthy, he could easily be, Ellie De La Cruz, O'Neal Cruz, if he's healthy, Jazz Chisholm, if he's healthy, he could easily put up like an Acuna-esque like season. Like he could go like 35 and 70 or something like that. Like once he went to New York, like he's a lefty, so he's going to put balls out, and he was stealing a ton more bases once he got to New York. So like guys like that could easily catapult up there, and so it should be an actual star that you're winning if you're in the star tier, which is great. And then there's a second chunk. So tier one still would have been a part of that star tier last year. And so, you know, I don't want to jump around too much, but we're going to, oh, it's right here. This is perfect. All right. For those of you that are just listening, if I just scroll down a little bit, I would have seen the information about player tiers. So that's a perfect segue. So 6% last year was the old star tier. Now it's top 2%. And then T1 is 4.8%. So it's a little bit more, but between those two. And then T2 is going to be top 13%. So that would have been T1 last year. And then it's about 27% for the last three, which is the same thing they've done. So they basically just split up the star tier into two separate ones, which I think is a really good change. And so Sorare, kudos. That's great. All right, let's check on time, see how we're doing, see if we're actually going to accomplish anything I attempt to do. All right, it's 6 o'clock my time. We got like 45 minutes. We're going to do this. All right, essence. Like I said, that's going to be like fractional cards. So you're in some of the contests, you're going to win essence. Once you get to 1,000 essence, you're going to craft a card. I don't know why that's not part of this. Sorry, I was going to try and get slides, or I just screenshotted stuff, but I didn't get a chance to put those together. We're not going to look at the essence. So, what in the gosh heck? All right. Maybe it's just here. Essence and the card factory. So previously, like you could get like, 250 essence and you would have like a 50% chance of a T5 and a 50% chance of or like a 40% chance of a T4, and then a very, very small percentage chance of other cards. Now it's just going to be one tier. You could also then save them up if you got to 400 or 500. Actually, let's do this for NBA. I've got some where I am ready to do it. So for essence, again, I don't play enough. Oh, we got some more rewards. I don't play enough, and so I'm really doing enough. In NBA, a lot of the prizes are boxes, and a lot of times you're getting essence through those. Again, I end up playing a lot of daily because I forget to do game week lineups. And also, like with NBA, you need the best plays are typically going to be guys that are playing because someone's out, which gets announced right before lock. And I'm not doing that at all. I'm usually doing it the night before at best. And so yeah. So in many of these boxes, you're getting 3 or 5, sometimes 20 or 25 essence. As we'll see, the kind of scale of them is going to change. I think the numbers are going to be different, but we'll look at what you can get. But right now I just hit over 400, and I was saving for that one to see 5 essence from a 5-star box. Yeah, that's not great. But it is what it is. I don't care that much. But is that the last one? All right. So, and so this is how it works for NBA. It was 50 would be this level where you're guaranteed at least a T4 and the odds, whatever. And so, but I'm up to one where I'm guaranteed a T1 and have a decent chance of a, let's see if this is, and again, this isn't going to be how it works for MLB because they're moving to just one level, but for NBA, so it's, 0.6% chance of a star there. For mine, it's going to be 33%. And for getting to 500, it's about 50-50. And I want to say for folks that play NBA, a lot of the changes they kind of test in one of the sports and they, bring it over to the others if it makes sense. The change to tiers is going to be phenomenal for basketball. So if there's a new star tier, which is only the top 2%, star cards are going to be a lot more likely to be actually a top card, because with NBA, Jokic and Luka, Wemby, like those guys typically put up such a better score than most players, that they're worth significantly more than guys that are just a little bit worse than them. All right. So that's what we're doing. This is how it works. Let's see what we get. I don't know the tiers, so I don't actually know what tier it's going to be. I've never done this before, so I don't know. Oh, Siakam? Yeah. All right. So Pascal Siakam, it's not great. I'm guessing that's a T1, not a star. And I do have a 24-25 Pacers collection. So that's kind of nice to add to it at least. So there we go. But yeah, you don't have a lot of choice of what you get. But it is what it is. All right, let's see what we've got. Just happy to not win the new. Yeah. Again, rookies, there's only, the first ones are going to go for a lot more. We know that. And I don't know, last year they said they were working to kind of adjust the algorithm. So those kind of outlier ones are like, if someone with collection scores, if it's someone's jersey number, or if it's the first one, the number one mint, like those get a bonus for collection scores. So those are going to go for more regardless. And it didn't really seem like they were taking into account the fact that like this isn't a normal price. Like don't use this when you're figuring out kind of the average sales for a card, and so that would make it would skew things. It was stupid, and they didn't need to do it. All right. We've got Fire Monkey. Welcome. He pulled a market credit from his 5-star, 2.5% chance. It's terrible. Yeah, it's true. DJ Local saying he wishes he could use Essence like a balance. True. But Fire Monkey used his credits to buy Jokic and Cat rares and sold them for more than he paid. Yeah, I mean, right now. So with NBA, with MLB, it's been 25% credits. They introduced them last year and they were 25%, which helped. I mean, for me, I thought it was a good kind of balance of it helped take away the premium of buying an in-season card. The premium kind of once prices settled in April, it was about 25% more, sometimes 50 or more, but most cases it was about that, more expensive for in-season versus a classic card. And so that kind of took the edge off of that, which I thought was kind of a nice way for it to work. NBA is 50%. So that, and there's a lot more of them with, through boxes, like we saw, I won like 4 boxes. I'm not sure if that was like game week or just from dailies or both. But you win a lot of boxes, you get a lot of credits. I usually have NBA credits that I don't use. I'm not sure if I have any right now. Let's see. Yeah, I've got $14, and I've had 44 since I last zeroed it out. But yeah, if you're here, a tip I want to give you is if you're playing MLB, even if you just use cash, it's not a bad idea to get some ETH, because a lot of times some folks only accept ETH and not cash. And so a lot of times a card will be priced like $2 and the rest of them are 5 or 7 because someone just wants to sell, and so they keep lowering the price. But a lot of people don't use ETH, and so you can get some decent deals keeping at least a little bit of an ETH balance. So I usually save that for folks that only take ETH. You for sure can get some deals. Again, my recommendation is use both, take both, so that you can earn some when you sell cards, or at least transfer some in to be able to take advantage of some of those deals. All right. Kika says it's real hard to have credits and not want to use them. It's true. I had a ton of credits with MLB. So they're gone, so I don't think I can see the total. I mean, like literally thousands of dollars of credits. And the plan was, the way that it worked last year, you opened a box, and if you got a credit, they would all combine, and you would have 30 days from the date that you opened it to use them before they expired. But every time you open a new box, you get an extra 30 days. And so if you had a lot of boxes, you could save them all off season, open one every 29 days, and carry them over into 2025. I know some people did that. It sounds like we're still going to be able to use them for the new auctions. So that's pretty cool if you did that. But I'd buy cards, the auctions, there wasn't a lot of interest in the off season. So I was filling out collections, buying some insta buys for that, whenever, if I wasn't paying attention to auctions, but a card auctioned off, the ones that have instant buys where it's, I don't know, I think it's usually like 30% more than recent sales. They just list it where you can just like buy it now. I would do those as long as the auction had gone for cheap, even with the 30%, use the credit. It's about the same. So that's what I was doing. All right, let's get back, excuse me, to the changes. Hopefully gameplay breakdown. All right. Again, thank you everyone that's here. It looks like we got 52 people watching live, at least on YouTube, I think. This might be on Twitter as well. Again, thanks for watching. If you have questions or comments, please feel free, put them in here live. Put them on Twitter, Sorare FP on Twitter. Or where else are we? YouTube. That's really about all, I think. All right. What did we miss? We got tiers, we got essence, and we've got competitions. All right. So again, the change is from separate classic competitions and separate, in-season competitions that required for limited 6 out of 7 cards to be in season, up to, for super rare, it was I think 3 in-season cards and 4 classic cards you could use, which worked pretty well, I thought. But they've changed that, so there's only going to be these sets of competitions. So champion and all-star are going to be the primary competitions, but we're, instead of having, before it was champion, pro, limited, AL, NL for most of the rarity levels, it's these 2, but with multi-entry. So limited and rare, you can do 3 lineups for each one, so 6 total for these contests that are rewarding primarily cash and cards as the rewards. We'll get into the rewards and how that's all broken down soon. And then 2 lineups for super rare, 1 for unique, challenger. And so I guess up here, this is, you need energy for these to use classic cards. Challenger, you do not need energy, so it's you can use your classic cards for it. For limited and rare, you'll be able to do 2 lineups. Super rare and unique, you can do 1. I think biggest gripe with this is I would have preferred to have seen 3 for this and 2 for this, to be able to earn more. These are ones that are, the primary reward is going to be energy that you can use to play your cards in these contests. Again, they're also adding daily contests for MLB. This is brand new for this year. There's 2 different ones, kind of like an NBA where it's, I think, like pickup and hoops, I don't know, but it's going to be daily derby and daily swing. I don't think these names are great, but it is what it is. So one of them, for both of them, you can only do 1 lineup regardless of what rarity you're playing. Derby requires in-season cards or classic cards using energy. Daily swing, no energy required. As we get into the rewards and how much things cost and how much you win, I do want to note that, like, this stuff will change. And so ideally sooner rather than later, if they get something wrong and the balance is off, they will change it. They've done it in soccer, they've done it in NBA, sometimes slower than people wanted, but sometimes, within the course of a couple of weeks, they've made changes to adjust. A big one was they nerfed essence, like what you were getting with essence. I think they expected more people to save up to get to try and get either T1 or a star card to guarantee that, but instead people, as soon as they got enough for the lowest level, they were crafting cards, and I think because of that, the total cards they were crafting was higher than they expected, and so that didn't work great. So they had to make changes. So they'll make changes like that if our behavior isn't what they expected and how they modeled it and how they expect the rewards to play out. They're going to do that. All right, so different competitions. Champion, this is the kind of flagship one. For limited, you're winning $500 cash. Rare, $900. Super rare, $1,250. I'm mostly going to focus on limited and rare here, and super rare to a little bit lesser degree. I'm not going to talk about unique. guys that are playing unique know what they're doing, and I've already looked over this. But so for limited 400 cash, rare 900, I believe that was 500 and 1,000 last year for the champion competition last year, and then 1250 for super rare champ, and it was 1,500 last year. But you're also getting cards with these as well. So if you're finishing first, you're getting cash, you're getting a star card, and it's actually a good card. You couldn't even win these cards in super rare last year. Is that Kika? Is that right? Like there were no star tier or what was initially T1 cards in solely super rare contests. I'm almost certain that that's true, and I'm not going to have time to go and go look at the ones from last year. But yeah, so in limited, all right, yeah, Kika says that's right. Yeah, so you couldn't even win a star card, and even if you did win a star card, it was maybe not like a very good one. It was maybe, again, I'm almost certain Andrew Abbott was one, but like Yamamoto last year, like new cards. So he was in the top tier last year for a while, and he's very good. But like last year, he wasn't. He's injured for part of the season. He wasn't. He's not a pitcher that I would have considered on the same level as most of the top hitters. There were for sure cards that shouldn't have been in there. I think we're going to see less of that this year. And I think we're going to see people that are a lot happier. First through 10th place in limited are going to get star cards. And so the cash rewards are less. It's going out to less people, I believe. So it's paying out to 50th. If anyone knows, again, I don't want to waste time kind of digging around in that stuff. I've got about 30 minutes left, but I think less people are getting paid out. So I think it maybe was going down to like $10 and $5 as you went down. But so less are getting paid out. But if you're winning if you're in the top 10, you're getting an awesome reward. Like you're probably getting a really good card and you're getting a decent amount of cash. You're also getting some essence. And again, essence is going to be, you're winning rare essence. All right. There is a lot more kind of different tier essence than I thought. The primary one that we've been looking at or that people have been talking about was super rare. And so with super rare, you win 50 unique essence. So there's 10 cards every season for super rare. There's one for unique, and you win $2,500. But for some of the bigger contests, like some of the chases last year, it was a lot of money. Like I think super rare was like at least $10,000 for one of the contests. Unique, I want to say was like 25, like 15 or $25,000. So those cards are expensive. There's only one every season. There's been 4 seasons. This is the 4th season, so there's going to be 4 copies of some cards, but there's not a lot. People that have money to play with will just spend as much as they need to. So Kick is asking, is total cash down, lower top and shorter tail? I'm not sure if total cash is down. It's going to be spread out differently. If someone's kind of broken this down and want to let us know, they can. If not, I'll try and have that by Thursday once we have all the information. All right. One of the other changes this year is there's going to be boosts. And so if you have collections, you can get an extra boost to rewards. If you are locking up some of the cards that you're playing in lineups, you can get up to a 50% boost. And so if you win limited and you've got the max boost, which I think is going to be pretty hard, just because you need for Ohtani, for most players, guys that weren't rookies after the first season, you need to have one of every card just locked up in your vault to get the max bonus, and you need to have multiple cards of that. So I guess I think so it's 15%, right, for collection bonus, and so that's going to leave it's 7.5. So if all of your players have the max bonus, I was going to say you might be able to do it with like 5 of your guys instead of all 7, so it wouldn't necessarily need to be like the most expensive one, but so you're going to need to lock up a new season card, which is going to be more expensive, as well as one card from every of the past season. For the most part, I don't know, it's going to be worth it to do that to the max. A lot of them you can kind of, just like with Essence, what you saw with NBA, there's different levels and your odds are better. And so like you get, I think 10%, around 10% for kind of doing partial. And I think that's probably going to be the sweet spot where you're not having to do a crazy amount. You don't need to do a card from every year. Maybe a card from 2 of the 4 years will get you most of the way. So instead of, the full 50%, I think it's probably more likely most people will max out around 25 or 30%. I'm sorry. Yeah. So collections don't do reward boosts, only vault loyalty. Yeah. So, but I guess in my mind, I'm picturing it as most of my collection cards that I don't play are going to be vaulted. So, whatever Andrew Monasterio and Blake Owens and whoever else on the Brewers are going to be vaulted because I'm never going to play them and it doesn't matter. But yeah, so for the most part, you're getting about 25% more. If you're doing it to the max, 50% more. So you'd be winning $600 here. So that would be more. But again, I don't think that's realistic. But it's going to apply to cards and essence. And the one thing that I need to check is they said card rewards will also get a boost, and it's going to be in the form of essence. And so I think what that means is, and like the reward for that was actually huge. So it was like, I want to say it was 2,500 essence or 3,500 essence. And so if you win a star card, and I think it was broken down by tier, right? And then a percentage of it. But like, so if you're the max boost, you're getting like 2 or 3 free more cards on top of this stuff, as well as more essence, and in this case for XP. And so again, instead of doing training lineups, you're going to get XP that you can apply to whichever card you want, instead of having to pick those cards and put them in training lineups. So again, I'm going to go into more detail, I think, in all of this once you have a little bit more time to digest. And we've got all of the news that they're going to announce over the course of the next 2 days as well. But broadly, this is how it works. You can put 3 lineups in limited and rare champion, 2, I think 2, is it 2 and 1 or 2 in super rare, 1 in unique for these. This is where the most of the best prizes are going to be. The other one requiring in-season cards or boosted. One of the more controversial things here, limited, you're going to be able to play common cards. And so for All-Star, it's typically been a mixed scarcity one where it's, for rare All-Star, it's maybe 4 rare cards, but you could use 3 limited cards. Limited cards don't get as much of a boost. And so like the XP boost or whatever is added on. They're not going to have as much, but for the most part, you can get away with, playing Corbin Carroll limited in your rare lineup. And that one, right now is like $30, as opposed to the rare card, which is, $150 or $200, probably about that. Most of the guys like that haven't been below $100 even at the lowest points. So that's an option for that. So that's how that works. Previously, for the most part, you weren't able to use common cards, though, which are the free ones that you get if you only play the free game. Or I guess if you play limited rare, you can play the free game as well. But for the common cards, you'll be able to play some of those. And so in the same way as I was talking about with rare, for limited, instead of having to buy that $30 Corbin Carroll, you can buy a bunch of $2 cards and play it along with 3 much better cards that you don't have to pay for. We've got Fire Monkey talking about someone wanted to sweep the podium. Even better with 3 different lineups. And again, I want to be clear about this. And like with soccer frequently and with NBA, it's a lot of the same guys in the same lineups. In the playoffs for MLB, we saw that because there's less and less teams, but we'll frequently see a top 10 where there's, wholly different lineups amongst teams that are finishing in the top 10. And you can have a podium where there's maybe 2 or 3 guys. If someone goes out, like when Bobby Witt puts up 100, or someone does that, usually they're going to be in some of the top lineups. But you'll still see ones that don't have that guy that put up 100. You can still do it because you had the rest, like all of your guys put up a 40 or a 50. And so again, that's one of the cool things about the game for me. All right, so we got Bob Franklin with the 50% bonus. You get 3,500 for start if you win a star tier card. So any of those ones for champ, like the top 10 for limited, you would also get 3,500 essence bonus if you win one of those cards. And so that's going to be three more cards that you're crafting, and maybe they're going to be garbage. Again, we'll look at the different tiers, like how that breaks down now that it's just the one tier instead of getting to choose like you did for NBA that I just did, to save it up to get a guaranteed at least a T1 versus maybe getting any of the tiers. So we'll see how that works, but I think that's pretty good. Like you have a 3 shots at getting a decent card at least. But chops. Yeah, that's true. Someone there's no ties. And so I believe the tie break has been and will continue to be whoever enters their lineup first. If you have the exact same lineup, all of the exact same bonuses, and I think that's happened at least in some spots. Whoever's lineup was submitted first is the one that gets it. Yeah, James is saying that's hypothetical. No one's going to get that. Someone might. I hope Bob does it. Like, I think it would be fun if Bob actually did like the kind of, the maxi in season, all of that. So Fire Monkey is saying his excitement for 2025 was like 6 of 10 going into this week, and it's 9 of 10 now. It's not all great. DJ Local's asking about market credit percentage. I haven't heard any word, but I'm assuming it's going to be 50%. Because that's what I want to say. That's all they do in NBA. I think soccer has both, right? I think soccer has 50% and 25%. If anyone watching knows that, let me know. But I think NBA is only 50%. And so that obviously affects prices, right? So if there's enough people that have those bonuses, the prices for in season are going to be warped by that. And like, was it Fire Monkey that said that? Someone said they just use their credits to buy some rare cards. I think Jokic and someone, and then sell them for more than they bought them for immediately, which, it is what it is. But so, that affects the prices, right? And so, only 50% credits for football too. So yeah, I'm guessing it's going to be 50%, but all right. So for the All-Star, again, it's going to be mixed scarcity. So in rare, you can use up to 3 limited cards, super rare, 3 rare cards. Is that the same as last year? I think you could use 4 rare cards in All-Star, but I'm not sure. And then unique, you can use 4 super rares. But the better rarity cards, the super rare and super rare, are going to get the more of the bonus. But rewards for this, so you're not seeing as great of rewards for the top 10. Just the podium is getting a star card. But again, that star tier is better. So I do want to say I'm very, very happy that they made that change to make the tiers at least somewhat better. They still could use help, but that's great. And again, if you've got any amount of bonus, like I said, if you can vault the maximum amount of cards, and we'll look at that, but you're getting at least 15%. So if you're getting a star car, 15% of 3,500 is a number that I can't do in my head right now, and I'm not going to take the time to do it, but like, it's at least a decent amount of essence along with the 500 plus the bonus amount. So that's going to be 50, 75, I think a 75 more. So yeah, that's what we're looking at. So only getting essence for some of these, essence and XP here. This is bizarre. I don't know why they're doing this. Like, I think if you're only getting 50 essence, you should also get the XP as well. I think I'd rather have 30 essence and 500. I don't know. That's just me. Who knows how much this is going to be worth? Let's see. Tyler B says Sorare wouldn't be wrong if PCA started in the start here. That is wrong, actually, Tyler. I don't think he makes enough contact to be there, but I think he's going to steal a lot of bases, and he's got decent power. But I don't know. I think there's guys that have better bat to ball skills than PCA, but who knows? Maybe it takes a step. I think we could have said that about Brenton Doyle last year, and he's one of those guys that maybe isn't. I'd say he's probably on the cusp, but when he's at home and he's hitting, like, he puts up big numbers, and so yeah. Again, I was I did NFBC drafts for DCs, and so it's in my head. It's all kind of like these like first and second round guys, and so for outfield especially, it was like, you can get Kyle Tucker or kind of after that first tier, you had Jackson Trio and J-Rod and guys that, maybe a little bit of questions. Jackson Merrill was kind of close there. But the outfielders that are like legit 30-30 threats, you got that tier, but then the next one you've got the James Woods and the Wyatt Langfords, you got Brenton Doyle and Lawrence Butler. And so it's like, well, you can wait a little bit and get this guy who's almost as good, but by the time you get to the 12th round, it's PCA. And is he really anywhere near, J-Rod? I don't know. I don't know if he's going to get there. But it is what it is. I'm going to stop being on a tangent and saying it is what it is. But let's let the PCA auctions go low. They haven't been low. I like PCA. I think he's one of those guys that for sure some weeks he's going to be one of the best plays. But he's also been pretty expensive. He's, I think, rarely under $10 for a limited. And there's just better guys. Is he going to be that much better than Brian Reynolds, who's like $2? I don't know. So let's see. We have not much time left. All right, 15 minutes to finish this up. This is All-Star. Prizes aren't as good. Not as many people are getting stuff. I think that's fine. Obviously, I think Champion's going to be kind of the flagship one. That's where most people are going to be playing. It's going to be similar to kind of a mix of Champ and Pro last year. The competition's going to be harder because there's multi-entry, and so I'm going to be putting all my best, 3 lineups there for limited and rare, as opposed to spreading them out. Everyone's going to play different though. And you're going to have to figure out how you want to do it, how many in-season cards you want to buy, if any, if you want to wait, 3 game weeks to kind of get for a week that you've got a bunch of good matchups. Shout out to Robbie, who is putting together a spreadsheet again, breaking down the matchups. I know other folks have done it as well, but that's a great thing to look at as you're prepping for this season. Typically, and I haven't done it this year because I haven't had time, but typically going to the off season, I would look at the schedule, see the first month who had multiple game weeks of great matchups, and focus on those guys because they're probably going to have great weeks, and they're probably you're probably going to be able to sell them while prices are still kind of bumped up from all the rush to buy cards for the new season. And so those are good ones to turn around, maybe keep one and sell one. All right, next alarm. I need to wrap it up. All right. Anyway, challengers. We're going to be playing your classic cards. Again, 2 lineups for rare and limited, 1 for super rare and unique. So winning is going to get you 250 energy. So that's enough to play 10 classic cards for 1 game week each in the other competitions. So Podium's going to get that. I think that's pretty good. You're also getting a star card. Again, that's pretty good. And these are going to be bonused. So you're getting a little bit more. You're getting some credits. Top 10, 225. So just 1 less cards worth of it. And a T1, I think those are good. I think these are decent. It's going to be worthwhile. If you've got the cards to be playing Challenger, you're going to be wanting to use them in the other contests as well. So I think that's good. 41 to 100, you're still getting 150. So enough for 6 cards, a little bit of essence, but no cards at that point. So top 40 for limited and top 5 only for rare. Again, on Thursday, I think we'll probably look at how this compares to last year. And I'm obviously not going to have time to go through my results, but when I did kind of take a first look at it, it looked like I was going to be able to play at least as many or more. I was typically finishing top 10% in limited, a little bit worse in rare because it's easier to have more and better cards in limited. But so typically, and I think for a lot of the better players who probably have a more efficient gallery, they're going to be probably doing the same, where finishing top 100 isn't going to be uncommon. This is only going to be 2 multi-entry entries. And so that's a decent amount. So there's, with limited, you can do 3 each, so 6 lineups. Across 6 lineups, you are winning at least 150. But again, we're probably all, for the most part, I think people that are have galleries that can compete with this every week. And for limited, you're not looking at that. It's not that crazy. If you put in, I think, $300 a year, let's say, I think that's more than like a very casual player, but less than someone who's spending a stupid amount of money, myself included. But like, $250 a season to buy some more new cards. You're going to win some cards after 4 years. The folks that have been playing since the start have a decent gallery. And if you're buying, only, when prices kind of dip in the off season or at the end, prices always dip going into the beginning of the soccer season and the NBA season, because people want to play the other sport. They want to sell their cards to buy new cards for that one. And so consistently we see prices kind of follow that same pattern every year. So if you're waiting to, like, if you want to play it as cheaply as possible, like Mookie was saying, like money balling it the whole way, if you want to do that, you can. And I think he's done great. And I'll check in with him and see if he wants to do kind of like going over how results would have played out for him under the new reward structure, and see for him, who hasn't put a ton of money in, but is consistently putting in, his hobby money. It's a game, it's a hobby, and he's putting in, it's fun, and, it's more than worth it. I mean, $250 a year is, what, like not a lot of money, $20 a month or so. I mean, it's like a movie or something. Is that right? 20 to 2. Yeah. So again, I'm sorry. I'm pretty tired. And so math is not going to be my strong suit. So Fire Monkey's looking to do 2 lineups, top 25% each game week. And I think that's reasonable, especially since people are just, so even if you're just putting a dead lineup in of guys that aren't even in the major leagues anymore, like, you're getting at least one card. And so it makes sense to at least do that. So there's going to be dead lineups for sure. So the bottom 50%, I think, is going to have a fair amount of lineups that aren't competitive. So for the most part, folks are going to be, start looking at these to start with. So top 15%, you're getting in, 4 cards worth. So you can run 2 lineups with 2 classic cards for limited, and that's more than you would have been using last year in Champ. And so whether you want to put those both in, put both sets of them in, 2 lineups for champion, or is it pro, champ and all, it's champ and all-star now. Sorry, they changed the names of this stuff, and that's hard. It was pro and all-star before now, and then they had a champ, and now it's just champ and all-star. All right, mumble. Let's wrap this up. If there's anything like I have to cover that I didn't, let me know. Again, I might try and do an add-on to this before Thursday, but if not, I'm just going to pick up from here on Thursday and continue it. That's why we called this one part 1, Challenger, minor. So for new players, this is what you're looking at. I'll probably do a separate one for that, multi-entry. Again, so you're doing 3 entries per competition for champion and all-star. So 6 total for rare, 6 for limited, 4 for super rare. For challenger, though, it's only 2 and 1. And that's my, I think, biggest complaint is I would have gone with 3 and 2. But again, my gallery, it has more than enough to be able to play a lineup that I really like for that. So that kind of evens it out for folks that are smaller. DJ Local says submitting multiple entries helps percentages too. I think, yes. I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm gonna have another drink. These are the dailies. I'm going to wait on that. The one thing I will touch on, though, is this? No, we need to share this tab instead. All right. So sealing and vaults, curating your collection. So these are the bonuses I was talking about. And so this is what you can earn. You can seal 1 player card from each season. So for Ohtani, to get the max bonus for sealing his cards, which means you're locking them up. And there's, I think, like a 1 week or 2 week cooldown before you can unlock it. And you can only unlock 1 card per day. But to get the max bonus, you need 1 from every season. So yeah, unseal 1 card per day per scarcity. So limited, rare, like you can do 1 of each. And then So there's a cool boosted rewards. And so in addition to the player one, just any card, once you get up for limited to 400 cards, you get a 15% boost. And so say 50 cents. Yes, I mean, if you were just like, I'm going to buy cheap cards, it's $200 to get that boost. That's probably not worth it. We can kind of figure out the math if we need to. But if you're playing competitively, you probably have some collections. Half of that collection probably isn't playable, and you can seal them. I'm nearly certain that cards that are in vaults or sealed or whatever are still going to count for collection score. You just can't sell them, play them. Anything else. All right, for rare, we're looking at 250 cards. Rares auctions typically start at $5. I've been selling garbage cards for like $3. And so and Fire Monkey says 100% count for collection score. Awesome. But so, to get to 13.5%, you're looking at 200 cards. So that would even at just a couple dollars. It's $400. That's actually not that bad. Again, I don't know that that's going to be worth it just to do that, but you probably have 100 or 50, depending on the size. You probably have some percentage of cards that you can do it with. Again, you can do one per day to unlock them. So if you do decide you want to sell one or trade one or whatever, but again, as I was saying before, I think the sweet spot's probably somewhere around here. You can get up to 10% with over half, like less than half of what you need to get to 15%, and 120 to get to 9%. And so I think for most folks, it might make sense to like bump up from 7.5 to 9, or if you've got 20 cards, I don't know about that one, but like 80 to 120 might make sense. Or there's going to be some minimal value for these. All right, I need to wrap it up. That's vaulting and sealing. And so for player loyalty, so for Otani, who's got one from every year, it's 5%. If you got one from every year, it's probably not going to make sense to buy an in-season card just to seal it away, to not play it. But if you've got prior season cards, like for limited, like I for sure probably have random ones that I've picked up for the guys that I really like and can do that. So you can get to 3% if they, for Carroll, Carroll started in 22, for Jazz and who's the other, and Tatis, like they're only going to have 3 seasons. So you can get to 2%. That's a tough one. So 2.5 here for just one card if they've got 2. So guys that were new, James Wood, Lawrence Butler, and I think Butler was in 23. But again, that's what you're looking at for player loyalty and rewards boost. All right, so there's the equation. So you're getting this for these guys. Here's the card stuff. Again, if you got the max boost and you win a star card, that's 3,500 essence, which is just like a free add-on. Again, so this isn't bad, I think, but we're going to get into the rest of it on Thursday. If you've got questions, let us know. Feel free to tweet at me at Sorare FP or my lists of 3. Or probably if you search Clamp 1, you'll find me as well. But again, thanks everyone for coming. Yeah, it kind of makes this year's rookies worth more, DJ Loco says, in terms of not needing to lock away as many cards. But yeah, thanks again, everyone, for watching, listening, whatever. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. Go to our Patreon. We're doing giveaways. Again, thank you for doing this. I love the community here. I think this is super fun, and I'm glad other people get into it too. That's the only reason I'm doing this, is because I didn't want Sorare FP to die when Alex had to give it up. So thanks for supporting us. Yeah, that's all. I'm out once I can figure out how to turn this off. Got it.